Hey everyone, welcome back. In our last video, we learned how to design the object scene here. But in this video, we're going to learn how to export our designs as an STL file to Cura slicing software. So whenever you're ready to 3D print one of your designs, you want to come on over here to bodies, okay, and expand down this arrow here. And bodies represent 3D objects in Fusion 360. So when we export our file as an STL file, we always want to select the body of the object. But before we do so, it's important to note that you always want to make sure your units are in millimeters, okay? Because everything in 3D printing uses the metric system. So we're going to change it here to millimeter and select OK. All right. Now let's come back over to body and we're going to right click on our body or 3D object and we're going to do a save as STL. Okay, select your refinement. I like to select high. Okay, and then format is binary, that's fine. Just go ahead and select OK. And we're going to save it to the desktop. I'm just going to call it key tag. And it's a good idea if you're in my class to put your name in there as well. Okay, and save it to the desktop. Okay, and hit save. Next thing you want to do is go ahead and open up your slicing software. So down here in the search menu, I'm assuming you have Cura installed or some other slicing software. So go ahead and search for Cura, C-U-R-A, and hit enter. Okay, and it's going to open up your Cura slicing software. All right, and once Cura has opened up, what you're going to want to do here is add a printer. So you're going to come right here and click Add Printer. And then you're going to want to click and add a non-networked printer. And then you're going to want to find the 3D printers we have in our class or the 3D printer you own. So I'm going to come on down here to Creality. Okay, we're going to go to Creality 3D and we're going to add Creality Ender 3 Pro and click Add. All right, and once you click Add, just keep clicking Next until you get to this screen. Okay, and I'm going to add actually one more printer here, and you should do the same because we have these in my class. I'm going to come down to Prusa because we have a Prusa in our classroom, and we have the MK3, and I'm going to hit Add here to add that printer as well. But now I'm going to come back to Creality Ender 3 Pro. Okay, right here. So we have our Creality Ender 3 Pro added, and now we can start looking at other things. So once you have your 3D printer selected, okay, go ahead now and sort of minimize this guy. And remember, if you recall, we saved our STL file to our desktop. Okay, go ahead and drag it from your desktop onto your software screen here, onto your virtual build surface. So when you actually click on your object, notice you can move it. Okay, so these arrows will allow you to move it back and forth, sideways, or whatever, or even up and down. Okay, and over here, if you click over here, you can scale it, right? You can make the object smaller or larger, okay? And you can adjust the scaling if you don't want it to be uniform. And over here, you can rotate the object, okay? So by, turning the object back and forth, okay? And when you 3D print something, okay, if you right click on your mouse, you can move if you hold the right mouse button down, you can move the object around and see from various positions, and you can zoom and zoom out with your mouse wheel. Okay, but when you 3D print, you obviously want, you're going to be printing in layer by layer by layer, so this is not a good position. You don't want things to overhang like this, okay? So let's just go back to what it was before and make it flat, okay? And then if you click off anywhere here, okay, and then if you right click on your object, you'll get some other options. So let's go ahead and center selected model. Okay, and if you right click, if you ever want to make more, you can multiply it and make, print 2 or 3 of these. You can clear it and all sorts of other options. Okay. All right, so the next thing to consider here are your print settings, and we're going to kind of go through some of our settings and talk about what they are. All right, and you can change your profile. So if you want something that's very super quality, okay, with a very, very fine detail, keep in mind it's going to take a very long time to print. All right, but if you want something that's just, that doesn't require a lot of detail, like, something like a block or some sort of simple bracket, you'd probably just want to print it with lower quality, okay, because it'll print faster and it doesn't need a lot of detail. Okay, but for most of our class, we're going to go ahead and select standard quality, 0.2 millimeter, and go ahead and keep these changes. All right, but so your layer height is the layer of each layer of your 3D print, okay? And we're actually going to use 0.3, okay? And 0.2 works great too, okay? But because we have 30 students, we're going to sort of save time here and print with a thicker layer, okay? So that's basically 0.3 millimeters is the layer height of our object. All right, for our shell, this is our wall thickness, okay? So this is essentially, you're telling how thick you want your walls on your object to be, okay? And typically 1.2 is fine, okay? So for this class and for this object, we will select 1.2, okay? And then our infill density. Infill density is 100% if we want to make the object completely solid, which isn't very practical, and it will make your print times, once again, extremely long. So I recommend an infill density for most objects, unless you need a lot of strength, typically between 15 and 30%. I'm going to go ahead and select 20, okay, for this object. And our temperature here, okay, for our temperature for our Ender 3. Now, keep in mind, this will vary depending upon your printer, but for Ender 3, a good temperature setting is a 200 degrees Celsius, okay, for a PLA filament. All right, for our print speed, I was printing with some flexible filament before this, so that's why the print speed is so low. But we are going to set our print speed here at 50 millimeters per second, so 50 millimeters per second. And our travel speed, okay, we'll set to 120, okay. For travel, okay, go ahead and check enable retraction, okay. And then for cooling, yes, we want to go ahead and enable print cooling. And then for support, we don't need support for this object. Now, imagine you're printing something with a lot of overhang, like an action figure with arms that stick out or something. Yes, you would want to generate support. But in our case, we don't need to generate support. Okay, there's no overhang or anything that needs support. So we're going to uncheck that guy. Okay, and then for our build plate adhesion, okay, you can select raft or whatever you want depending upon your object, but in this case it's a very simple object, so we don't need any build plate adhesion, so we're going to select none. Let me go back now for a second because I forgot to talk about build plate temperature, and build plate temperature is important because for objects with a lot of flat surface area, okay, you want to turn your build plate temperature up higher. So you want to increase this temperature typically to around 50 or even 70 or 80, depending upon the object. Okay, like I said, the higher the temperature, the less warping you will get. Okay, but you can see our part here, it's not a huge part. Okay, it does have a fair amount of surface area on it. So I'm probably going to set it to, I think probably 40 should do the trick. Okay, and a lot of it's also going to depend on how well your nozzle is calibrated, okay, to your bed and the bed leveling. Okay, so if you've leveled your bed appropriately, okay, you're going to be okay. And just to let you know, if you ever want to sort of customize your print settings here, you can click on this little gear icon, okay, and you can check the print settings you want to see over here, and you can change your printers, okay, and you can add and remove printers, save your settings, and a lot of options for customization. I'm going to go ahead and close out of there. Okay, so if you're in my class and you've entered all of these settings, okay, and you've followed through the video, you are now good to print this object. So go ahead and select Save to File, and you're going to want to save it to the micro SD card that's plugged into your computer. So I'm going to click there, and this is fine. Make sure it has the key tag in your name, and go ahead and select Save. Okay, go ahead and X out of there, and when you're safe, go ahead and remove your micro SD card. But before you remove your micro SD card, okay, I wanted to show you one quick thing here. Okay, so let's come on down and click on your USB. Make sure your file is there before you remove it. And your file is basically should say G-code here. And what G-code is, it's basically code that your 3D printer can understand. It basically tells the paths or movement or directions to make in order to build the object. Okay, so once you've successfully verified that the file, your G-code file, is on your SD card, now go ahead and remove it. And when you're finally ready to 3D print, make sure your bed is level and make sure you know how to operate the machine. If you need any help, please come talk to me. I'll be more than happy to come and assist you. That'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.